The strongest town in the country is right here in southeastern Wisconsin. West Allis beat out 15 other cities, including two Wisconsin cities, for the title of strongest town. What does it take to be the strongest town in America? Let's find out from the proud mayor of West Allis, Dan Devine. Mayor, welcome to Connect MKE and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
What was your reaction to West Allis receiving this honor? You also beat out cities including Chicago, and in the final round, you took on and bested Madison. That had to
Yeah,
feel pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah. We have so many people and so many residents, so many employees that are doing so many incredible things to just try to lift up the community and make it stronger in so many ways. And that's just kind of image building. It's new urbanism. It's making our community safer, more walkable, more engaged, more bikeable. And it was just such an exciting run. We were excited to just initially be selected as one of 16 communities from all the applications. And then they put us in this bracket after we first they broke it down to the top eight, and then they put us in a bracket, and that's where we, initially faced off against Spokane, Washington, and then Chicago, and then Madison.
What do you think it is about the information that you shared about West Allis itself that made it so competitive and makes its story so compelling?
So one of our city planners, Emily Wagner, submitted our application, and she's a fairly new employee and a fairly new resident. But I think what spurred her was a lot of the community coming together to respond to the flooding last August, and how it was literally just all hands on deck, and it was just such a community thing. And there were the high school football teams out helping uh, seniors clean out their waterlogged basements. It was just such a coming together, and it really showed the strength and the resiliency of West Allis. And I think that that flooding response on its own was really a microcosm of the West Allis story, which we talk about so often. Everybody hears about Alice Chalmers, which was our biggest manufacturer, our biggest employer, our biggest taxpayer. And when they left in the 1980s, granted, this was 40 plus years ago, it was a huge hit to the community. It was, so many people lost jobs. So many of the tax dollars paid for by that company that was then sprinkled onto the homeowners, which caused taxes to go up. And the city didn't really, they had to bounce back, but it was how they bounced back that I think that was really impressive. And it wasn't just trying to find one thing that was going to fix everything. They incrementally planned and built and reinvented, and it really all kind of culminated with the West Allis you see today. But it's that story of taking care of one another, and it's that story of resiliency that is, I think, the constant theme in this community.
You have described West Allis as, I want to get this right, as a gritty but cool destination that has
Ye-
that history of bouncing back. How do you see that
Yes.
in West Allis today? How does that manifest itself?
So I think a lot of it is just what we're seeing in the redevelopment and the new developments is it's not a complete abandonment of our industrial past and our working class roots. You can improve without becoming, I know this is kind of a buzzword, but you can improve without becoming gentrified or unaffordable. And West Allis is still, whether you're buying a home or renting or going out to eat, it's a very affordable place when you compare it to a lot of our neighbors, our immediate neighbors. We've got lower average rent rates. We're not adding five-star steakhouses. We're adding a great dining scene. We're contributing to a great dining scene, but it's an affordable dining scene. And a lot of the places are very unique. A lot of the new restaurants and businesses like bakeries and such are owned by West Allis residents. And a lot of them are just one of a kind. They're not spinning off and like doing a recreation of something in downtown Milwaukee that will now be available in the suburbs. It's a lot of new, independent, locally owned stuff.
The competition focused on neighborhoods, the local economy, and also long-term planning. How has West Allis worked in all of those areas to position itself to not only being the strongest town in the country, but also to really be coming into its own?
So on the neighborhood thing, we've been really trying to work on tightening up our neighborhoods, building community. We've been doing engagement sessions. There's a current effort with a lot of groups trying to address the homeless situation. There's another one that's working with all the different faith communities, trying to see how they can come together and help out the community. There's a lot of, they call it the Engage series, and sometimes they'll bring in me to speak. Sometimes they'll bring in the health commissioner to speak. They're just trying to really get people exposed to how their local government operates. And they're also trying to get just the general neighborhood associations going. There's been some growth there. There have been some struggles as well, but that's kind of the whole thing about that resiliency that I spoke to earlier is it's not going to be fixed in a month. It's not a 6 month plan where you're going to have every neighborhood have an association. You've got to find the right people that want to do it. And as far as the businesses, we've been very friendly to small businesses. We've been really trying to work with them individually and just offer them as many financing options. A couple of years ago, we became a Kiva city where people can set off crowdfunding to raise money if they're trying to open up a small business. We work a lot with WIBIC, and we've just gotten a tremendous staff. And it's not just in our development and our planning, but it's also in our engineering. It's also in our attorney's office. It's also in our code enforcement. Our inspectors will try to work with the small businesses proactively and identify any major expenses on the front end versus them, coming in the middle of a project.
Now that West Allis has gotten this attention, people are paying more attention to what's going on. It's more than the state fair, more than the farmers market, that those are good
Yeah.
things. What would you encourage people to do and see in West Allis? What do people want to make sure they don't miss about the strongest town in
Ooh.
America?
I just,
Or is that like asking you to pick your favorite child?
I know, or saying what's the best pizza place or something like that. I really just, I love our dining scene, and I love the influx of small businesses. And I'm just thinking of so many coffee shops and bakeries and craft breweries and restaurants and just places to grab lunch and even dinner or just to grab a cocktail. We've got a couple cocktail forward bars that have opened up that aren't just like corner taps. Um, it's really easy. And, one of the most exciting or most fun things for me is when I'm in another community and people, if they recognize me and start telling me how they're spending so much time and money in West Allis, they'll stop me at one of my kids. He plays high school sports, so we'll be at a field house in Wauwatosa, and I had family come up to me and say, "We spend so much money these days in West Allis. You've got such cool stuff going on." And just yesterday, a mayor from a South Shore community came up to me and he wanted to sit down because he just loves the redevelopment that they've been witnessing down there that's in West Allis, and they want to try to recreate it in their community. But really, our new page is Visit Dallas, and that is a really a one-stop shop for people that if you want to find out what events are happening. We do food truck Fridays at the farmers market throughout the summer. There's a lot of events, and if there's not an event, there's just so many places to eat and head out for the night, and there's almost always plenty of parking, which isn't always the case in some areas. Um, but yeah, there's a lot to explore, and if somebody who hasn't been here in 10, 15 years, you really need to drive through and take a look. I still hear from so many people that say they drove through on the way to a Brewers game, or they drove through on the way to, Summerfest, and they couldn't believe the changes they saw and the new buildings going up and just the new vibe, which has been really exciting.
Well, Mayor, thank you and congratulations again. We have that website up on the screen now so people can check it out and see all of the great things that are going on in West Allis.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And coming up, a way you can be a dog's new best friend. We're back in just a minute.